Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Eating While Broke. I'm your host, Coline Witt, and today we have very special guest, Havilah Malone, executive producer, actress, and 3 times best-selling author is in the building.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for coming through. I really appreciate it and excited to have you. But before we get into your journey of before success, what will you have me eating today?
We're going to be tasting some spicy, cheesy grits. It would have been shrimp and grits, but, no shrimp.
No shrimp. He was budget friendly. And then what's up with the cashews?
Yeah, so we need a little protein, and we don't have no shrimp, so we going with the cashews.
Do you put the cashews in the grits?
We do put the cashews inside the grits.
Oh, for real?
Yes.
I didn't know. When I saw you said cashews for protein, grits and jalapenos, I was like, this is definitely affordable. This whole meal can break out to like 20 meals, and I think the total was like $7 with inflation.
Yeah.
Well, I would say more than 20 meals. I'm just going to say that right now. They gave me, the only cheesy grits came in like a bulk size from Walmart. So definitely affordable, but I was thrown off by the cashews. I didn't know how this whole thing was going to play out. But go ahead, you could start whipping up that dish.
And I'll make sure this water is nice and hot and boiling. Definitely want to start with this. And grits because, well, first of all, I'm from New Orleans, so we already have like comfort food, and then it's something that will really stick with you. Mm-hmm. So you eat grits, and then you're gonna be full for a
long time.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about my low key morning hack now. Is I wake up when I prepare my daughter's lunch and everything. I will make myself an egg and cheese sandwich, and just 2 eggs, toast, and then sometimes I'll, instead of putting like just butter on it, I'll use hummus. For extra protein. It sounds crazy, but I do put hummus, like especially a spicy hummus on it. Mm-hmm. Or I'll do avocado. And I promise you that egg sandwich will hold me till like 3 o'clock from 7 in the morning. I'm like, yo, that is the ultimate hack. And I don't know if it's just all the protein in it, but it definitely holds me over.
Definitely with that egg, the yolk of that egg is really filling, and then the bread.
Yeah.
Like that bread is gonna stick to your sides.
but if you guys have never done the egg hummus breakfast sandwich, I promise you, it is really good. Do you eat hummus?
I do eat hummus.
Have you ever thought about putting that concoction together? I
never.
Promise you, it is good. It is
never
good.
Thought of that concoction.
But take me back to what was going on during the time of the grits, cashews, and jalapeno era.
Yeah, the bank account was very slim, extremely slim. I had experienced a layoff from a job that I had for over a decade. And even though, yes, they had given us a severance package, from after leaving, but instead of me going straight into another, job, I decided to figure out my life and figure out what I wanted for my life. And that brought me into a deep dive into like personal development. And instead of
pause, I don't think there's enough water to cook all those
grits.
I
don't think so either. I think
just have to cook
we're
2
gonna
packs.
just have to do 2,
2.
and then
she's about to cook all. Some of that is just for the just so people know it's not an empty
design,
plate.
right?
Yeah, set design. She was about to cook like 4 or 6 packs. It would have been the driest grits of all time. No, we measured it out just for 2.
I was looking like,
yeah, it ain't enough. We would have set you up to fail. All right, go on, go back to your story. Sorry about that.
Hilarious. So I was in the midst of, trying to figure out what my next steps were, within my life.
And how old were you at this time?
I was, had to be 20.
Like late 20s?
Yeah, late 20s.
Okay, so you go back to square one. And what job was this at the time?
I was working in corporate America. I was working for Hewlett-Packard. So I was a district sales manager for them. I was running a $160 million technology business for them.
Wow.
And then I was also their spokesperson on like the Home Shopping Network and QVC,
Okay.
like selling their products on air. And the economy took a really big downturn. And so their business started, of course, going down. And they decided, because they were contemplating breaking off the computing and printing sides of the business. And then instead they were just like, we'll just eliminate complete organizations to be able to save money.
Wow.
But here's the thing, it was a blessing in disguise because I used to wake up every day depressed. And not because it wasn't a good job, not because I wasn't paid well, not because I didn't work with great people, but because I was at a place in my life that it was time to move on and to really discover who I was. And I wouldn't move on because I was afraid of what was on the other side. And everybody in my family, my life was like, you better not leave that good job. You better not, you know? But I'm just like, okay, well, let me just get up out of bed, put the smile on, and keep doing the thing. And God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, was like, no, boo, I need you to move on because I have more for you, but you can't stay here in this space, in this spot. So, cool, you don't want to do it? I got you.
I'll get you there.
Right. I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
And that came in the form of a layoff. And it was like, a part of me, of course, was like, whoa, okay, well, now what does this mean? Because my identity was tied to that position. My identity was tied to this title. And it was like, who am I without this? And it literally, I think it's nice and cooked now. We're gonna let it just sit for a second off this heat.
Okay.
But really just trying to figure out who I was. And in that time of trying to figure that out, I got an opportunity to go and work for another division within the company, but I was like, I can keep doing what I know how to do, and that's easy for me, but it's literally killing me, or I can figure out who I am and what I really want.
So what was your next play?
So my next play, I got reached out to by a friend who, he only reaches out probably like once or twice a year just to like check in.
I love friends like that, by the way.
Right? Look.
Oh, it's such and such. I ain't heard from him in a while. And they're like priority calls too when you do get those once in a blue moon calls. You're like, I got to call him back. But go on.
Yes. And so he reaches out and in that call, he was just like, yo, we're just checking on you, you know, how things going? And this is what had just happened. And so like I shared with him what the situation was. And he was just like, you know, oh, I'm gonna keep you in my prayers, you know, definitely, you know, keeping you uplifted, like everything's gonna work out. He was very, you know, like just encouraging. And 2 days later, it was about like 2 days later, he reaches back out to me and he was like, I have a friend who I'm gonna have reach out to you who may potentially have an opportunity for you. And so I was like, okay, like, thank you, you know, like I appreciate it. The friend reaches out and the opportunity was to work as a community outreach director at a funeral home.
Oh, wow.
Right.
That's why you started with a laugh. Did you end up taking the job?
Girl, I was like, I really appreciate you, you know, reaching out and offering this opportunity to me. However, you know, this doesn't really align, you know, with it. He was like, I get it. He was like, your background and what you do, like this really isn't, you know, what you do, but we would love to have you. And like, there could be something here while you're figuring it out. While you're figuring it out.
And it was local to you too?
And it was local.
Okay.
And I was just like, no, but he kept pressing. He literally kept pressing. And so I was just kind of like, he said, look, just come meet with me. Just come sit down and have a conversation with me. Even if you decide you don't want to do this. And I'm like, sir, you just at a funeral home. Like, literally.
Now that I think about it, it's got to be hard to like get employees for funeral homes, huh?
I was like, wait, how did I come from being Miss HP?
Was he, and then was the pay a lot or was it a little?
No, it's like commission based.
Oh, yeah. He would have lost me. So go on. So it sounds like you took the job.
So I go to this meeting, and in this meeting, I meet a mirror of myself and his assistant director, who she was an older version of what I would envision myself to be when I got older. And so it was because of her and wanting to be in proximity to this woman that I took the job. Now, I was only there for 2 months because I was like, child, this is not for me. Yeah. But it brought me to a resource that was so necessary for my journey, for somebody who opened up a space for my knowing of what was possible for my life.
But so when you see this woman,
yes,
you admire. It's a sense of admire.
It wasn't just a sense of admiration. Mm-hmm. It was a sense of like soul connection.
Really?
It was a sense.
She was just in the room, or she was actually with you guys interviewing?
Yeah, she was in the room. Like, so he was the director of the facility. She was the assistant director. So she was there to like be a part of the interview, and in meeting her, like her power, her presence.
And she was the assistant director.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
No, she should have been the director.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to get the full picture. Okay, so it was the assistant director that caught your attention.
Yes.
Okay, and the way she held her power.
Oh my! It was palpable. You could feel it.
Was she also young too? Or no she was older.
Yeah, she was older. Yeah, she's probably at that time maybe in her 60s or so. But of course, black don't crack. So
she was also black. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, before we break this story, okay, so we have the yellow.
We have these
grits.
cheesy grits.
Cheesy grits. I've never even seen grits this color. What do we do next? I'm sorry, I haven't even eaten. I should have had you cook all 4 packs.
Right? It's going to be good.
Seconds and thirds.
So now we're going to take our cashews. Again, this is our substance, and it's almost in the shape of a shrimp too. Like
hilarious.
Literally.
I was like, why didn't she put honey cashews? Like, I wanted to throw it in there, and I said, don't mess with it.
That's interesting to like make the sweet and savory combination.
I did not know where the cashews were flowing. I've seen so many dishes where I've been completely confused with how people were making them. I just followed the instructions. She said cashews. She didn't say honey.
It wasn't
so
honey.
I did it.
And it's usually just like raw. So like not even like salted or anything, just like raw cashews. We're going to just take a little, a tablespoon of cashews. We got to make this last. So you're going to take a tablespoon.
That's hilarious. Cashews aren't cheap either.
Thank you.
No, give me more cashews.
Stop being stingy with the cashews.
Yeah, this is eating while broke. We ain't got to do it all.
No more.
Yeah. Come on now. Okay, so we got cashews.
Now we have the cashews, and now we add the coup de grace, the jalapenos.
The jalapenos, okay.
Yes. So jalapenos for that, again, I'm from New Orleans, so we're all about spice. We're all about like just that little kick, that little pop, and this definitely does it. So to be able to add our jalapenos right there on top, I mean.
You add a lot. Okay,
right,
okay.
You don't have to do a lot.
Okay, gotcha. I'm going to put some of the jalapeno juice in here. Just put a little splash of this because you know me. You know that, that one jalapeno, that's it. That's so as far as I'm going.
But it also, it's visually appealing. I mean, you have the color of this, you have the texture, the dimension of it. So it's like, it makes you feel like you're at a fancy restaurant when, child, you are not.
Yeah, I don't know. This spoon right here, I'm going to try and get it. Okay, I got this.
And so, so you can mix it all in.
All right, I'm going to try it. Here we go.
Yes, okay. That's the first bite.
I actually like the cashew in it. I mean, not the cashew.
The jalapeno?
The jalapeno.
Man, that's bring me back. Yes.
Now, guys, don't judge me eating this in full today, as this is the go-to eating while broke dish. But I will say adding jalapenos to grits is definitely... I can actually... You know what? Even the cashews. But I could be hungry, so this... I'm starving, guys.
Being hungry helps.
Hold on. But I do like the cashew bite the jalapeno bite with the grits.
Yes. It's like that. Those flavors combining, the textures combining, it just makes you feel so like satiated and like you're having an experience with it. And I think because you're bringing in so many of your senses in that one bite, it's just like, okay, yeah, times may be hard, but you know what? This is good.
I think it actually all does work.
Right?
And I don't know if it's because I'm hungry.
It's not just because you're hungry.
But I think that the cashew flavor and the jalapeno flavor almost drown out the cheesy grits flavor altogether, though. Like, you almost barely taste it. But, like, something about the texture of the jalapeno and that is amazing. Like, honestly, this is definitely a good broke dish.
Yes.
I will definitely probably be working at the studio one day and definitely say, you know what? We got grits and leftover cashews.
I love it. Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. I finished the cheesy grits with jalapeno and cashews, and I had Katie, our producer, call Cut to try it to make sure I wasn't insane. But by far, I think everyone should try cheesy grits with jalapenos and cashews. It is definitely a cocktail that you would not expect. And even Katie, I like made her take a bite of it, and she was even like shocked at how good it was. I was definitely judging this dish. But this may be the new way to eat.
Wait, what ingredients?
I didn't even want to put a jalapeno in it. But that is amazing. I really want seconds. So when we wrap, I'm gonna make another one. But take me back to this story. It's so delicious. Isn't that crazy?
Girl.
Would you do this now would you ever do this now?
It's pretty good. From here, I'm gonna go buy some.
I'm gonna make some more. I'm so glad we got the value box. This is a good combo. They need to do a cheesy grits with jalapeno and cashews, bro. That is delicious.
You know what I think? This brand that you've gotten, I think they do have a jalapeno cheddar version.
Oh,
of the
they
grits. Do? But again, I think it's better with the fresh jalapenos in there.
Yeah, because it's the texture and the crunch that you get. Yeah, because remember, I tried to do the juice, and then I tried it with the bite of the jalapeno. This is by far definitely going to be one of my favorites. I definitely think I will do this again. We will wrap, and then we will make some more.
Yeah.
But, okay, so you are definitely into one of the top dishes for the season. That's great. Great. And I've been very reluctant to give that a title, but it is a really good dish. So, okay.
I receive it.
So now we got to find out from being a funeral
girl,
sales rep, funeral home sales rep.
Community outreach director.
Oh, okay.
Yes, basically.
Commission-based only job.
Okay,
part. So you worked this gig. Then what happened?
I was there for like 2 months and was like, no, this ain't for me. But it was that relationship that was critical and helped to start opening new pathways for me. New way, because like she was into reading Think and Grow Rich, like I was into reading Think and Grow Rich. She was into and open to going to personal development events, which I hadn't gotten to that stage of my life yet, where I was like reading materials but not taking the action to like move to the next step. And I remember we talked about we should actually go. Like we should actually go to an event. And so she was very much into like healthy eating and stuff like that. And she suggested a David Wolf event. And I was like, oh, that would be good. I said, but what about Tony Robbins?
I was gonna say I was thinking of him when you said that. Yeah.
And I had literally watched. So Oprah had a special where her and her producer went to a Tony Robbins UPW, which is Unleash the Power Within. They walked on fire. They had all of these breakthroughs. And watching that show, I was like, one day I'm going to that event. Like one day I'm gonna do it. And so I brought that up as a suggestion. And so she was like, yeah. She's like, find out when the next one is. Like, let's do it. Cool. I go online, I look it up. It was coming up. I think it was like October of that year. And then it was in Florida. So we get the tickets. We go. I walked on fire.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. By the way, I've always been curious about the Tony Robbins, but those tickets aren't cheap either.
No.
I've thought about doing it, and I'll be like, nah, I can't justify it. But I do. This guy has amassed such a huge following. Obviously, he has impact.
Life-changing experience.
So you walk on fire.
I walked on fire.
Any blisters? Just curious.
None.
No burns.
None.
No soaking it in cold water, ice.
One.
Okay.
And that's the thing when you start to realize how powerful you really are. That the conditioning of our mind, because we do it on the first day. Mm-hmm. Like you walk on fire.
The first day.
The first day.
Yeah, I would be like, oh, hell no. Right? I'm sorry.
So like literally that entire first day.
When you say you walk, you run.
No, you walk at a steady pace.
At a steady pace.
Yes.
Oh, because I'm sure if it was me, I would have. Okay, we're going to do this real quick.
A mantra that they have you say, and you're also being programmed with that mantra all throughout the day. Like you were literally conditioning your mind to be able to have control of your body and your experience in that moment throughout that entire day, so that by the time you do it, the result is like
what was this mantra that could make you walk on fire?
Cool moss. Cool moss. So when you think about fire, you think hot. So in your mind, you automatically go to burning.
Yep.
Like,
heck yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Blisters, like all that stuff. So your mind is telling your body, oh, that's what's supposed to happen. Oh, that's how we're supposed to react to that thing.
So you say cool moss, your body says it's cool, but at the end, you walk on this fire and you don't see blisters.
None.
No burns.
Not
even a little bit of a scorch.
Not
because if that's the case, we all need to go. So wait, you walk on it and your brain can tell you this, but your physical body doesn't experience the burns, and you're walking at a slow pace.
Yes.
Is this flames? Is this fire or hot coals?
So it's coals that are on, like literally burning coals that you are walking across.
Okay. All right. Continue with this story.
Yes. And
cool moss, huh?
I'm
gonna test it at home. I'm gonna tell my stove, cool moss, cool moss. I'm gonna send you a picture of my burnt finger.
No.
We're like, oh, you didn't practice the whole day saying the
mantra.
mantra.
Try this at home without.
Okay, so you didn't end up with no burns. Okay. Okay, you got me sold. Okay, so
and that was the thing, because then it sold me of what I was capable of, because I went into it first as well, being like it looked cool on TV, but I don't know about this. Yeah. And I was like, and I can always just like opt out. Like at the last minute, I could just be like, nah, I'm gonna just that would have been me. Right?
Let me see 300 more people end up with no burns. And let me melt some marshmallows over it to see how hot it really is. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm one of those, like 300 people and melted marshmallows. Then maybe I'll do it.
Right. Then I'll try it.
Yeah. Let's see him do it 10 times. Tony, did you do it 10 times? Okay. All right. So go on. Sorry.
No. And the thing is, like, you are being primed, reconditioned the entire day to build up to this moment. Okay. Because once you do this on day one and that breaks open for you, what else am I capable of? Yeah, what else can I actually do that I thought was impossible? Because I thought that was impossible.
Yeah.
I just proved it was possible.
Yeah.
So now what else can I do for myself?
Exactly.
And so that, being a part of that community, coming to those understandings, like in what Tony does, like what he does very well, he takes tools and he makes them his own. Mm-hmm. But one of his primary tools that he uses to teach and to transform people, while he's never lost a suicide, person who's attempted suicide, he uses NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. Mm-hmm. And it is a process of being able to literally rewire your neural network so that, like, you don't have to think about breathing. It just happens automatically. You don't have to think about when you get close to your home, you probably just go on autopilot because you know the path to get home. That's a neural pathway that has been ingrained or grooves in your brain. And we have that as in terms of our belief system about things as well. And this helps you to literally rewire that. So I believed I wasn't good enough. I believed I wasn't smart enough. I believed, I wasn't worthy of this level of living. And so everything I did was in alignment with that because that's what I believed. That's where my neural pathway was. But now I can rewire it. Yeah, I am worthy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can have that. Yeah, I'm supposed to have that. And then it rewires to that. And then your life condition starts to unveil that new reality. And so that opened this space for me. And so I went into a deep dive into personal development. But here's the thing. Once you start going in and pulling through these layers, all the dark stuff starts to come up too. Like all the stuff to be dealt with has to be dealt with. And so my traumas of being sexually molested when I was, in my youth and having literally locked that into myself where I was going to take that to my grave. I would have never told anybody, never addressed it with my family. It was my brother. So like, that was like a no. Yeah. And who's going to believe me anyway? And
oh, you had that feeling too?
Oh my God. Yes, indeed. I believed that I say something and then they're going to be like, no, it didn't. Like, what are you talking about? And I had a belief system that because I was like close to my dad and my mom was like really close to my brother. And I felt like she loved him more, even though it wasn't true, but like I just like felt that because of their closeness. And so I'm like, well, even if they do believe me, she'll still side with him because like that's her favorite.
Or it could cause a family split, right?
Right. Or am I going to break the family apart, So
and how young are you when you're thinking all these thoughts? Well, I guess all the way till...
Oh my God, like my entire life. Like from the time that it happened, like all my entire life, like it was just kind of like, I just locked that away within myself because it was just like, no, like I'll just carry this. Yeah. And through doing the work of like healing, it was like, no, I have this frog stuck in my throat of this thing that I'm supposed to release that is literally holding me back from being who I'm supposed to be and from speaking my truth in the world. Because I'm like, if there's a saying, it says, how you do anything is how you do everything. So if I'm holding back.
Damn, that was deep. How you do anything is how you do everything.
So I'm over here.
No truer words ever spoken. I'm starting to learn that. I'm not 40 though, but yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, I'm holding back over in this area of my life and suppressing my truth. Guess what? I'm also holding back and playing small in my career. I'm also holding back and playing small in my relationships. I'm also holding back and playing small in all these other things because how you do anything is how you do everything.
Okay, lesson number 1. Okay, Havilah. Okay, drop that gem. Okay. Okay.
And so in this process of starting to get into these deep, dark layers of myself and start to feel the permission to speak my truth, to heal and not carry something that is not mine to carry, and to be okay with whatever the outcome is of me sharing this information, I was finally able to get to a point where I was able to break my silence. But I went through very dark times getting to that place.
In between the Tony Robbins and
it was at. So UPW was my first Tony Robbins event. Then I went to Date with Destiny. So, and Date with Destiny makes UPW look like kindergarten. Like,
and this is all through the Tony Robbins. I feel like we're promoting Tony Robbins. Shout outs to him. Hope you do the show, by the way.
Right? Come on, bring your.
You're getting a lot of testimony. You're gonna hear a lot of people looking you up right now.
Absolutely, because here's the thing: there's so many tools to healing. There's so many pathways. He was a big part of that first part of my journey. And then I've gone on to other teachers and modalities, from plant medicines to other things, because I really thought that personal development, growth, enlightenment, I could just take like this magic pill. If I just learned this like one thing, if I went to this one event and I did it well, I graduated, I was done. Like I'm healed, like I'm good.
Of course, yeah.
Ciao. It's layers.
Yeah.
It's so many layers because we have unlimited potential and we have unlimited depth to us. So even as you were healing and going up in this, what they call spiral dynamics, there's still more to unearth. There's still more now, you may not deal with a situation the same way anymore. Maybe you were in an abusive relationship and then you finally took your power back. So now you're not in abusive relationships anymore, or you're able to say, no, that don't work for me. I have boundaries, but then you'll be tested on something else because there'll be another layer to that.
Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I can see that. How does you're going through this personal development journey? How are you financing your life? How are you even financing these? Because these clinics aren't cheap.
No, and because I went on this like deep dive, I ended up joining Tony's like platinum partnership, which is a very hefty price. You probably end up spending around $100K by the time you're done for that like year.
You spent that?
I ended up spending probably like 50 because it's like you get private events. So there's a small number of people that travel around the world with Tony, and we go to like private events, and then you get access to all of the regular public events as well. And so I did all of the public ones. I did only a few of the private ones because like money started running out.
Yeah. How are you financing all this?
So it was through my severance from leaving from the layoff.
And then the money from the funeral place
for them couple
months. You spent all that money?
That money was gone.
Oof. Yeah, you couldn't have convinced me to spend my last 50 on Tony. I'm sorry, Tony. Shout outs to Tony and the girls. But hey, you led to 3 times best-selling author, actress, executive producer. So obviously this was a pivotal milestone. What was the next pivotal milestone to get you closer to that like what was the order of executive producer, actress? Because it sounds like you were doing acting when you were doing the home shopping, right?
Yeah.
Or is that like your early acting, I guess?
Yeah, I've done I've been in like NCIS New Orleans, like a few HBO shows. So I did acting.
Before, what got you to the acting milestone?
So my degree, so I went to school for dramatic arts communication and then also got a minor in psychology. So I started college when I was 16 and I wanted to go to UCLA, but my parents were like, yo, young, naive self, no, ma'am, you're not about to go out to California by yourself.
At 16? Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm with them. Okay, so you were a very good student.
Yeah, and two, I think I was more so determined. Like I knew my real life was on the other side of school. So I'm like, how can I get through this process as fast as possible? And so in high school, because I was in honors classes and stuff like that, and then I realized I only needed like so many more credits to be able to like literally skip a grade. And I was like, bet. I went to summer school, took like gyms. I still don't even necessarily like drive to this day. Like I never was interested in driving.
Yeah,
Never.
I noticed you said you were gonna get dropped
exactly.
off. Okay.
This is
love
from
driving.
youth. Like this is like literally from youth. And the only reason why I went and got my driver's license and took the driver's test is because you got school credit for it. So I was like,
oh, okay, got it. So you scaled through school. You graduated 16. Then you go to college. Where do you go to college?
I go to University of New Orleans because it was like pick something local. I go to UNO, and then I did the same thing. I went to the guidance counselor or whatever the administrative thing was and found out how many classes I could test out of. Like, how could I get through this even faster? Wow. And I ended up graduating college by 19.
Wow. Yeah, I did see that on your bio.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, how do I get to the other side of this process? Because my real life is over there. I just kept envisioning like, I got to do this. Like, but, right.
So then after you graduate college, your next step is Hewlett-Packard?
My next step, so my last semester in college, I have an internship at Fox 8. So Fox 8 out of New Orleans. I get hired on after I graduate. I worked as a production assistant and then went into field producing. So I worked for Fox in news for 2 years. And I had every day a rape or murder or fire, rape or murder or fire. I was like, this isn't... First of all, I was getting numb to those topics. And I was like, this is not how I want to feel about this. So I don't think this is the part of the TV world that I want to be in. So I leave from there. I start working at just independent production companies, just working... on just independent projects. And then I got scooped up by Hewlett-Packard. Okay. And they were like, oh, okay. And then I scaled up into management and then district management. And so I was with HP for probably nearly a decade. Yeah. And even in that time, I was still acting. And I even had a television show that I was a part of, the cast of a reality show that I was like shooting simultaneously with working as well. So I've always been one to have like multiple things going on where possible. So then after leaving Hewlett-Packard, we do a little stint
in personal
development.
Right. Yeah,
funeral. We go from death to life. And in that journey of going through personal development and shelling out a lot of cash for these tools, for this access, and then the bank account starts going down.
The reality calls.
Oof. It calls big time. And it was like, wow, okay, I'm getting these things that I need, but then on this other side, I'm going into a hole.
Yeah.
In this hole, and I'm like, how do I now get out of this hole? Because this planting that I'm doing, or really weeding that I'm doing and replanting, that takes time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not just fixed overnight.
Yeah, of course.
And then able to like step into my power and step into my new life and figure out. I was like, I need money.
Yeah, you need money. So what's the next play?
Yeah. So in that time, I also ended up writing a book. So writing my first book called How to Become a Publicity Magnet in Any Market via TV, radio, and print. Because everybody, from my background in television, my background in corporate at that time, people would always ask me, well, how do I get my like product or business or service like on these very powerful platforms? And so I was like, I keep answering these questions over and over again to people. There must be a better way.
Yeah. So you wrote a whole book on it.
Yes.
Awesome.
So literally wrote that book. And then that was my first kind of step into entrepreneurship. Because you write a book, but it's more than just writing a book. Like,
how do you get it picked up? How do you get it published? All that. So what did you do?
Yes. And so I worked with a managing editor. So through the publishing company that I worked with, and so they published the book.
But how did you get the publishing deal?
I found through the Tony Robbins world. So through my connections that I had built in relationships that I had built in that world.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's a key thing too. You are the sum of the people you surround yourself with. Like, proximity is power. And so I didn't have the like money to be able to pay for a lot of the services or things that I need, but I had relationships with people who were able to help me along that process, and then able to get a deal for the publishing of the book. And then all of that stuff was taken care of like getting it out there into the world. Like, we ended up getting it to a #1 bestseller. But it's like all that in between time, there's no income coming in. Like, there's nothing.
No.
You're building something.
Yeah.
And so you have to, like, we're interdependent. Like, I tried so hard, and I think that was probably a trauma response. Like, I always wanted to do everything myself. I wanted to like just be Miss Independent, and I don't want to have to rely on you, because if I have to rely on you, that means I have to trust you. And if I have to trust you, then it means that you could potentially pull the rug from underneath me. And so
I never thought of independence as a trauma response, but when you break it down, I'm like, that is, huh? I thought it was just, that makes sense though when you say it like that. Okay, learning more. Independence can be considered a trauma response.
It can be, depending on what the intention of it is. Because if the intention of it is to protect myself and to shield myself from ever being hurt, from ever having to rely on somebody else, where's that really coming from?
I never thought of independence as a trauma response. But as an independent woman, boy, I'm very concerned about myself now.
And it's beautiful.
Now when you look at independent people, you be like, yeah, you pay all your own bills. You rely on nobody. Oh, man, you've been through a lot.
But
that's funny.
You can still be independent, but have an interdependent mindset that you know that, no, I work in community with other people to be able to do the things that I do. I can trust and rely on, because one, I've come to trust myself. So when I get that intuitive hit that you will know, If I get that intuitive hit that you are a person that I should say yes and move forward with, great, I will trust that.
So if and this is going off to the side, but I have to ask. So if you have an independent person, you think that's a trauma response. What happens to a person that's overly dependent? Is that coming from
trauma too.
Oh, is that trauma too? Okay, so you gotta straddle that middle lane. You gotta straddle that middle lane.
Again, it's about intention.
How can an overly dependent person come from a trauma response? You know what I'm talking about? Just one of those people that just skate through life and everybody just somehow just falls in place where they never end up responsible. Can that be?
Wait, when they never end up responsible?
Yeah, just life was handed to you. Life just someone just cut. Could that be considered trauma, or could that be like, man, they had so much people that they could depend on around them that they just never became independent? And this is like a real question, because I've seen
somebody
independent
who came to my mind who literally, and he considers himself having a life of Riley, and that's a term, the life of Riley, meaning that things just show up for you, so you've never had to like literally take responsibility for anything, because life keeps handing you like opportunity after opportunity, resource after resource. Like, you don't even know how to like do life on your own.
So life of Riley, is that an effect of any type of trauma, or is that just like, hey, someone was born out the womb and Cupid just said, hey, life of Riley on you? I've seen some people where you like, golly, I mean, can God just shake one branch at you, please? I'm not trying to be a hater, but
it's like
no. So that's not trauma, or is that a trauma response? Or is that just life of Riley?
Here's the thing: we all come here for our own lessons to learn, and we have all had some type of trauma in our lives. I mean, even the birth process is traumatic. You coming through a very tight space into life, and coming into a bright life, being smacked, on the behind, like, that's traumatic.
But you also don't really remember it either, so. I don't know one person I was like, I remember the day I was born coming down that into her vagina. No. I remember when she was breathing up. No. Don't nobody on earth, knock on wood. If you know anybody that remembers their birth story, one, I definitely don't believe it. And two, I don't know. There's a reason why you don't remember it. So it can't be considered trauma. I don't know if it can be considered trauma like a birth experience when you just don't remember it. It has no psychological
things that happen in our early childhood. You may not consciously remember it, but your unconscious mind holds everything.
All right,
like it's all
with
there.
exception to the birth. Let's just say
you're
the birth.
Like,
because there's girls that have been people have been born in toilets and bathrooms. Like, no, they're not waking up like, I remember that time when she had me in a toilet. You know what I'm talking about. Yes. So let me just say the birth traumas don't count for anyone that's like, well, I had that one time when my mom gave birth to me. But back to your story. So you're on this journey. Yes. You reach out to an old partner from Tony Robbins, or a friend or affiliate from Tony Robbins, and you get a publishing deal.
Yeah, so my first book gets published. It does very well. It opens up the space for me to start speaking. So I started speaking at like conferences, events, and then that like kind of opened something for me, because I'm like, wait, I do have a voice. I am supposed to be like sharing messages that matter to people around the world. And so that opened, because I consider myself like, yes, I have these titles like executive producer, actress, author. I consider myself a highly effective communicator.
So now that you find out you're a great speaker and you're doing these speaking gigs, your book is top selling, what's the next play after that?
It's to continue to grow. It's like, okay, you've tapped into something, and now how do we go deeper with it? How do we continue not only the healing journey, but your expansion journey of using your gifts and using your voice? And I've always been a real big proponent of like Napoleon Hill. Like, Think and Grow Rich has been a guidepost in my life, and utilizing the 6 steps to riches that are in that book, utilizing those principles of success and helping to just reformulate how I see the world and how I operate in the world. And I decided, okay, how can I take these principles and go even deeper with them? So I decided to the Napoleon Hill Foundation offers a certification program. that allows you to become a Napoleon Hill.
Do you have to pay into it too? Oh my gosh. Okay.
Everything takes money.
Okay. Got it.
And well, because the training it takes about 3 years to go through the training program.
And there was no expedited way. I'm sure if there was, you would have skipped it.
Girl.
So you did the 3 years.
So it really is a lifelong thing, but no, I don't even think it took me 3 years. It didn't take a full 3 years because I did find ways to like just hammer out and get through each of the steps. So there's a home study program that you do. There is an in-person, leadership course that you do, and then you do a service project. So your way of being able to give back through those principles. And while we were at the leadership certification in person, we were in French Lick, Indiana, which is the home of Napoleon Hill. And our entire class was given the assignment to write a 1-page children's story based upon one of the principles that was assigned. So we all got a little slip of paper with just a number on it. So mine had the number 10. I was like, 10, perfect. That's enthusiasm. I was like, that's my favorite principle. I was like, bet. And so we had to pick a writing partner. And so I scanned the room, and the lady who I had rode in on the shuttle from the airport with, she was available, Diane. And so I was like, cool, like, Diane. So we have an hour during our lunch break. We go up to my room. And so we're thinking, okay, well, what kind of story can we write about enthusiasm? And then this story just starts coming out, and it starts coming out in this rhymed pattern. So it was like,
oh, nice.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect for little kids.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, bet, like, let's go with it. So we write this story, and it was called The Town of Lost and Found. We come back to the class, and like all the groups start going up presenting their story. We get up, we present our story, and the reaction in the room was overwhelming. And we both looked at each other, and we was like, I think we got something here. We go sit down, other groups get up, and another group gets up, and they do a story on enthusiasm. And I was like, that was a different story. But I'm like, there was only one principle assigned per group, so how is that even possible?
Yeah.
And so I go back, I went into my little notebook, I pulled out the little 10, I go look down the list of principles. 10 is not enthusiasm.
No way.
10 is accurate thinking.
Oh, wow.
But I knew in that moment that God, the universe, put a blinder over my eyes to see what I needed to see in that moment.
Got it.
Because after the class was over, the executive director of the Napoleon Hill Foundation and her assistant came over to us and was like, we loved what you all did with that story. And they were like, we don't know where this will go or what would happen, but we would love for you to do that for all 17 of the principles.
Wow.
And so we were like, yes. I had always, and talk about.
Did you say yes? How much? Or
No.
I get my money back. You didn't say that.
No.
Like, okay.
I was just so honored, and also because it was a dream come true, and why I used to say this all the time. We should talk about the power of your words. I used to always tell people, I was like, I am the love child of Oprah Winfrey and Napoleon Hill. I was like, that's my real mom and dad.
Oh, wow. I hope your parents don't listen to this. But
They know.
But wait, backtrack. So you end up publishing, which I bought the book. What's the name of the book?
It's called The Amazing Adventures of Oliver Hill.
Oliver Hill. I just bought that book for my daughter. It was pretty amazing book. I did call you.
Yes.
This is what actually got us to talking was this particular book. And the first thing I asked you was like, well, before we get into what I asked you, let's go back to the money stance, because we got to talk it. So you and Diane, you write this book, you write it,
the book.
You give it to Napoleon Hill.
We give it to the
Still
Napoleon
know how
Hill
much.
Foundation. And we end up giving it to them and giving the rights of the book over to them so that all the proceeds that come from the sale of that book go back to the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And that became our service project to them. There's more power in giving than receiving. I knew that this was a legacy.
What does Napoleon Hill's Foundation do again, Keith?
So
that book was very impressive. That book was very good. Yeah. And then I told you now I guess I'll say it, especially after knowing that you gave away the rights to this book. She didn't just give it to them. She gave away all the rights. Okay. Havilah, okay. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That book sold how many? A lot, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you still comfortable with giving. Okay.
Because there's a bigger picture.
There is a bigger picture. So I did get the book, and the only thing that deterred me, and I'm not really a race, I don't know if I'm not really a race person, but I guess for the sake of this, I'm going to say I am. Yeah. It was a very impactful book when you think of Think and Grow Rich. I like to assume that all Black people have read this book, but I actually had a conversation with a friend the other day, and he said not all Black people read that book. It was like the people that are, that are driven to read or what have you have read that book. Don't blanket it. But that book is a powerful book. I know it was a powerful book in my life. The question I have is, now you have this book, and it definitely translates very well. I read my daughter's books, and I am one of those people that will buy books and go, I can't believe I bought this book. Like either it's too wordy or the pictures aren't right, or then you have not enough words, and so I'm definitely, when it comes to children's book, a book snob. And it's weird. It's only with children's books. It's like she has shelves at home, and I will order these books and buy it off the title. Now I like to skim them and see like what the pictures are. Knowing that you was the author of one made me buy it. But the first thing I asked you was like, I just don't understand how a book of this much power and impact it looked like just a bunch of white kids on the cover, and I felt like little Black and brown kids, you want to read them a book as I get older that reflects them. So, that was the first question I asked you, and you could go ahead and share your response, because just in case anyone else wants to buy the book for their kid, they're not absolutely shocked. But go ahead.
And so in the process of writing, we were sending the stories over to the foundation, and then they hired the illustrator to, illustrate it, which happened to be a Korean, young lady out of Korea who literally only spoke Korean. So everything had to be translated into Korean for her. And I had written out very specific instructions on like the diversity I wanted to see in this book. And when we got back the first sets of illustrations, they were literally absolutely no kids of color. And I was like, no.
Did you had already signed the rights over before the project, or just trying to get it right? Okay. And the name of the book is The Amazing Adventures of Oliver Hill. So if you have young kids, definitely check out the book. Sorry to harp on this one part of the story, because this is what caught my attention with you,
And it caught my attention as well. And so I was like, I reached back out to the foundation. I was like, because they were so excited. They were like, these illustrations are so beautiful. And so it's interesting how certain lenses like don't even see like the divide, don't even see that, wait, there's an issue here because we're lacking some diversity. And so I brought that to their attention, and I was ready to, if they weren't going to do anything about it, to walk away.
Okay.
And so I reached out, I brought my concerns, and I'm like, I cannot be an author of color and there not be not one person of color, not one little Black girl, not one in this entire book of all these characters that we've created. I was like, this is not okay. And the executive director, she agreed with me. She was like, no, like, and we didn't even, like, it wasn't, it was like literally an oversight. We just saw like these beautiful illustrations. It was like, wow, this is amazing. And so they sent back instruction to the illustrator. And then Julia, she is the character that they, had redone and made a character of color. And I still was like, I wanted more. And I felt like it deserved to have more. And even in that point or stage of my life, and again, the how you do anything is how you do everything, like I settled. And I still had not gotten to my full power yet. In owning my voice yet. But I was grateful to have had enough healing to at least stand up for myself. Let me tell you something.
The transparency in that whole, what you just said, is crazy. Like, that's appreciated, because I don't think we openly, even as successful as we are, acknowledge like, maybe at this point, maybe I did settle or what have you. I'm not gonna lie. If the roles if I was in your shoes, I definitely would have done exactly what you said. Probably, I don't know about the giving up the rights or anything. I don't know if I'm that much of a gift giver, because the book was really good. Is really good. I did skim through it. I'm trying to, right now my daughter's into the monster book right now, which is the most annoying book in my life. But trying to get her to sit down and read it. But I did, of course, read it as an adult, and I was like, this is a great book. I definitely want to get it for my friends' kids. And I'm glad that like you even like. Once you said that to me over the phone, I was like, all right, what you think about coming on Eating While Broke? But
Yeah,
no, I'm glad to hear that story. So,
Yeah,
so just to be clear, Napoleon Hill's foundation.
Yes.
Not trying to get into it. So they got all the proceeds. Diane didn't get anything. Nobody got. You guys just okay.
Mm-hmm.
What does the Napoleon Hill Foundation do for where does that money go?
So the Napoleon Hill Foundation is all about perpetuating and continuing to put Napoleon Hill's principles out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
So they do a lot of programs in the community. So this book went into schools. It became part of the Napoleon Hill Scholars Program in universities, where they would use that book and then go into schools with it. They use it like in library programs. And so it's used in some very like charitable and giving ways. Yes, they make proceeds, when the book sells online or through their website or at events and things of that nature. But all of that too goes back into programming that they do for the community.
So the Havilah Malone Foundation.
I received that. Look, I received
So the Havilah Malone Foundation is what is impacting our youth today.
Yes. And you know what? Even that whole experience.
I just hope that even with that whole experience, maybe there could be just a Havilah Malone black version.
Girl,
or minority version.
Let me tell you. Because what that sparked in me, because here's the thing. Life happens for us, not to us.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like even that experience, it fulfilled a part of a dream of being a part of a legacy in the Napoleon that has impacted my life, and now I get to be a part of that legacy to help the next generation. It also sparked within me a seed of, you've been able to do this for them. It's time for you to do it. Because you have the skill set, you have the knowledge, you have things to share and stories to share that can be put into a form for children to be able to ingest. And you can, but I wasn't ready at that time.
Yeah.
But I can, with the view to diversity that I have in mind, with the view to inclusivity that I want to see in the world and in books, and making sure that children feel like, wow, this is for me.
Yeah.
I can create that now.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it, and I definitely, would like to see the proceeds go back to Havilah, right? No, I think what you did was great. I mean, knowledge is knowledge. I mean, when Think and Grow Rich came out, I don't think anybody was looking at the race of Napoleon Hill at the time, right? Or Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Nobody was looking at
there's so many other versions of that book that have come out since. Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, by Dennis Kimbrough. He partnered with the foundation, Think and Grow Rich for Women. Did he get to keep?
When you guys say partner with the foundation, do you know if he got to keep any of his?
I don't know what their deals are. Like
I'm gonna end up being the investigator.
Right.
I'm gonna be like, yo, how many people from Napoleon Hill graduation just turned around and gave back all their rights? I'm gonna open a full-on investigation now
because like Sharon Lecter, so she did Think and Grow Rich for Women. She also did 3 Feet from Gold, which is through the Napoleon Hill Foundation.
Is she black
I doubt she gave up all of her.
And she's not black though.
No.
What about the Think and Grow Rich guy?
Dennis Kimbrough, probably not.
Is he
I don't
black
know.
or is he
he's
white?
Black? Yeah. And there's Think and Grow Rich, a Latino choice. There's there's so many now versions of Think and Grow Rich that have been updated to have examples of people like of our generation or time, and that are geared towards specific diverse audiences that will speak in terms that resonate with them. Because I always suggest to people, read the original one first and then read one of the,
of course,
alternative like versions, because it'll give you the foundation of like where it was based from, because Napoleon Hill, he went and interviewed over 500 of the most successful people of his time, from Thomas Edison to Henry Ford to President Woodrow Wilson and President Roosevelt, to find out, Andrew Carnegie, to find out what they did different from everybody else that made them successful, and was able to boil that down to 17 principles that if you apply those principles, you will be successful, period.
So, and just a side note, since we're talking about books, you know what book? I don't know if you've ever read it, but it's one of my favorite books. There's a couple of my favorites that are like my go-to, but have you read Outwitting the Devil?
Heck yes. That's
I
from
thought that
Napoleon Hill too.
That is from Napoleon Hill, right?
Yeah.
That book was phenomenal. I think people don't talk about that book enough.
That conversation that he had.
I thought that was so brilliant.
So his family
I
asked.
can't believe I spaced. That was from Napoleon
Yeah.
Hill. I love that book. Okay. Well, I guess the Napoleon Hill Foundation ain't that bad.
Right?
Well, I don't know. Do you get unlimited membership to like get more classes for free?
Oh yeah, I'm a part of the Napoleon Hill family.
So you get free, no more paying.
No.
Okay, cool. Do you get friends and family in for free?
Well, and they don't do like the events that the foundation does are more like fundraiser events anyways. So it's not.
But for the schooling.
The certification program, it's not a lot. Like the certification program is like really inexpensive.
Like what?
Probably less than $1,000.
Oh, okay. All right. So So you go on
maybe
after
a little
this.
bit more than $1,000. Maybe a little bit more.
I just want to know that you get a friends and family, like I have girlfriends that could be their friends and family Marriott discounts and like I
love it.
I just want to know if you get a friends and family.
Promo code, right?
You better, because I know that book sold a lot.
Yeah.
That book sold a lot, and it has a huge impact. So after this book goes on to be a bestseller, you say, well, heck, man, I got to put out another book, right?
I didn't put out another book. It's interesting about me. I do what I feel called at a time that I feel called to it. And so when I feel called to share a message or to do a specific thing or create a certain thing, then that's when I do it. Even if it's like, no, now's the time for you to like create this and do that. Unless it's an internal calling, it ain't happening.
Spoken like a true entrepreneur. So how are you surviving this whole time while you're, you giving away money? And
I love it. Because I was still
doing
even though
speaking,
the book, exactly,
okay.
Speaking engagements. So my first book was still selling. I was still speaking on those topics, and now it also opened up speaking engagements for those principles of success and like speaking on
Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, Think and Grow Rich
okay.
topics. So to corporations and to schools and things of that nature. So I get paid, to go out and do those things.
You're making
money,
I
wasn't making money from the book. Yeah, those proceeds were going to the foundation.
But you were making money on. There was fruits to the book.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the thing that people don't realize. It's like, even for the most part, your money isn't going to really be made from the product. It's from all the ancillary things around the product.
It's so funny because this conversation comes up a lot lately with Eating While Broke. But okay, ancillary. So you made money off the ancillaries in addition to the book, and you're skating through life. What's your next big play? Like, are you starting to just act more, or can you take me there?
Yeah, and so it was interesting. So I'm doing a lot of speeches. Goalcast, which is an online motivational platform, they do these like, how do you say, like condensed motivational videos, and you have people like Tony Robbins, Oprah Winfrey, like, and they're viral videos that they create. And so they picked up one of my speeches and then did a Goalcast video. So it almost becomes like a little TED Talk. And that thing, it went viral. And it was about following your childhood dreams. And so many people started reaching out like, wow, this really motivated me to like go after, like I always wanted to be a nurse, and like I finally just went ahead and like, I'm going to nursing school now, or like all these things. And I'm just like, something clicked inside of me, and I was like, you're out here sharing all these principles, telling people to go after their dreams, do these things, but there's a dream that you have that you still haven't fully pursued yet. How you gonna sit there and tell other people to do something that you still need to do? And I was like, ooh. So I told you that I started college when I was 16. My first career path, or the first path I was going to go down, was to become a lawyer. So when I was in high school, I was a part of a junior league program where we used to try real cases in court. And so the defendants were already found guilty of their crimes, but we just argued sentencing in front of the judge. And I loved it. So I was going to become a lawyer. And then right when I was having to make my decision of what I was going to study in school, I was like, I can go to law school, become a lawyer, or I could just play one on TV. I was like, it'd probably be way more fun. So I went the dramatic arts communication, the entertainment route. So I'm like, yes, you have done all these other things on television, played cops, like all this stuff, but you have never played a lawyer on television, and you literally changed the trajectory of your life to fulfill this dream that you've not done. So I was like, okay, it's time. It's time for me to practice what I am preaching. I literally made a decision that day, and I was like, I'm moving to California to more fully pursue my acting career, and I'm going to play a lawyer on television.
Okay.
I took Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich and those 6 Steps to Riches formula, and I created a plan for myself. I reached out to an acting coach that I had out here like from years ago, and I was like, when is your next intensive or your next course starting up? Like, when is that happening? She told me it was going to be June 29th. This was of 2019. I said, bet, I'll be there by June 26th. This was 51 days between the day I called her and then June 26th. So I took that formula, I created my plan. June 26th, I moved out to California. Wow. And I literally hit the ground running. Within 2 years of being here, I booked a role as a lawyer on HBO's Insecure. Yeah. And it was just and I've done a lot, in the commercial world. I mean, I've had 4 Super Bowl commercials. Even during the pandemic, I felt super blessed because I was still able to, because I had production background, because a lot of the commercials you saw during that time were Zoom commercials or cell phone, type of things, because content still had to be created, even though we couldn't get together to do it. I thrived in that time.
Wow. Not
only did I stayed booked and busy, I also was able to take a 3-month cross-country road trip because I was like, I don't have to keep looking at these 4 walls. I can look at any 4 walls I want to. And I literally traveled across the country still working and had the most tremendous experience. And the career has only continued to just escalate and more things came. And I got to the point I was like, I really only have 3 more specific acting goals. So then what is next? What's the next iteration? And it's to be able to be in a position to create opportunities, to be able to tell the stories I want to tell and open the doors for other people to do what they do very well. I come from a management background. I come from a business background. So I'm just executive producing is very much the business of it all. And so it felt like the right step in the move to move forward in this industry. So I was outside of those 3 specific acting goals, I'm just it's time for me to help more stories get told. And so that's what I've gotten the opportunity to do. We're actually in pre-production right now on a film, and I'm executive producing and in the casting process of, because good Lord, that is a whole nother beast. Yeah. And I've helped or to invest money in other projects, and I'm just there's nothing that you cannot accomplish if you set your mind to it. I've also published another book. So during the pandemic, I finally, because the universe was oh, you saying you so busy that you can't write this book that you've been knowing you're supposed to write and this message you're supposed to share. So now let me put the universe on pause so that you have nothing but time to sit here and write this book. And so that was the one that came out in 2021. Which was Rewriting a New History, a spiritual path to audacious authenticity and healing, which goes into, because there's many forms and modalities for healing, but this one goes very deeply into ayahuasca. And so I'm just super grateful, just for this life and how it continues to unfold and all that I get to keep learning, because I'm still learning. I'm still growing.
Yeah, you're definitely one that's hungry to learn and grow. I'd say that. You definitely put a lot of focus on that, and I can appreciate that. Even though I do focus a lot more on money, but yeah, I can appreciate that. That's a lot. So what advice would you give to anyone coming up behind you, whether they're pursuing acting, publishing, or any dream? And can you just quickly, before you get out, just name the 6 principles?
Oh, 6 steps to riches?
Yeah, just name them. You don't even have to explain them.
Oh, yeah. So it's to determine the amount of money that you want, like the specific amount of money that you want. Determine the date by which you want to attain that money. The 3rd step is to determine what you're willing to give in order to receive that money. Then you write out a written statement of your plan to attain the money. And then the 5th one is that all morning and night, you will recite that out loud with feeling, with belief that that is already attained. I'm missing a step. You create the goal. You write it. Yeah. You had to write it down. Yeah, you create the money goal that you want.
Yeah, you can say
write
it
down.
Into that. Say the 6 steps.
This is the steps. You will determine the amount of money that you want. A specific dollar amount. You will determine the date by which you want that amount of money. Then you will write that down into a written statement. You will determine what you will give in order to receive that money. And then you will take that written statement and you will say that out loud with feeling and belief in the morning when you wake up and before you go to bed at night. And that is to be able to solidify that within yourself and draw that to yourself and allow that to flow through.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that's right there is the advice.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, yeah.
Yeah, you got to determine what you want.
You got to determine. I think I seen Oprah say that on some clip, saying like a lot of people just don't know what they want. And you know what? Sometimes when I'm very frustrated or I don't know what to do, my friends will say, "You know what it sounds to me like, Coline? You don't know what you want. So why don't you figure it out what it is you want, have that conversation with yourself, give us the answer. We're not going to judge you, and then we could proceed. But until you know what you want, then yeah. So and in that I was like, oh, okay, well, that's a good question. And now I say it. What do you want? Oh, I know what I want, and I know that by me knowing what I want, I also indirectly know what I don't want.
And that's the thing. When you ask people, for the most part, what do you want? They will immediately go to what they don't want because it's easier for their mind to grasp or to articulate, oh, I don't want it to be like this and I don't want that and I don't want it to be like this. But then because that's what you're giving energy to, that's what you're giving focus to, that's what you're literally drawing in. You are magnetizing the thing that you don't want because that's what you're focused on. If you could literally let that go and solely focus on what you want, it has no choice but to come to you.
I agree with that. And guys, if you're hungry and you're broke, feel free to get some instant grits, some jalapenos, and some cashews, because I assure you that is a fulfilling meal. And we, after we close out, me and Havilah will be eating that for lunch. Yes. Thank y'all all for tuning in on another episode of Eating While Broke. Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Eating While Broke. Please go ahead and support us by clicking to subscribe up here. Or, if you want to get more additional content, check out right here. Thanks, guys. Peace.